are, okay?
No, I know for a fact that she's dead because
Do you want to go ahead and try? It might
11:42
still help,
p.m.
okay?
on
No,
February
I don't think
4th,
so.
2007, Paris Bennett made a 911 call. His voice was unusually calm, detached. I can't do it. She's already gone. There was no panic, no urgency in his tone. But something felt wrong. What had occurred in that quiet house that night? What led a 13-year-old boy to make such a statement about his 4-year-old sister? Paris's words did not match the situation. He claimed his sister Ella was unresponsive, but as the dispatcher tried to walk him through the steps to help her, there was something unsettling about his behavior. Why wasn't Paris more desperate? Why wasn't he trying harder to help her? These questions would be at the heart of a deeper investigation that would uncover a chilling truth. Ella Bennett had been full of life, a young girl with an infectious energy that brightened any room. Paris, her older brother, had always been regarded as the quiet, intelligent child with a bright future. But on that night, everything changed. The bond between the two siblings, once so strong, would never be the same again. The 911 call marked the beginning of an investigation that would soon reveal that what appeared to be a tragic accident was something much darker. The truth behind that phone call would expose hidden layers of emotion, confusion, and resentment that led to this unimaginable event. As law enforcement arrived at the scene, the questions grew more intense. Was this just a tragic mistake, or was there something far more sinister at play? What had occurred in that house that night? And why did Paris seem so calm when facing the emergency? What followed was an investigation that peeled back the layers of the Bennett family's life, revealing complexities no one had anticipated. The truth about that night would unfold in shocking ways, forcing everyone to reconsider the meaning of family and trust. In the coming moments, we will look at the investigation, the discoveries that followed, and the impact on those who were closest to the case. What really happened that night? Was Paris simply overwhelmed, or was there something darker at the root of this tragedy? Stay with us as we break down the facts and slowly begin to uncover the unsettling truth behind Ella's death. This is just the beginning of a story that raises questions about the hidden aspects of human nature and the lengths to which a person may go under emotional strain. Children, Paris and Ella. Paris, born on October 10, 1993, was a bright and introspective child, known for his academic abilities, scoring high on intelligence tests with an IQ of 141. He excelled in school and was often regarded as the perfect son. Ella, born in 2003, was everything her older brother wasn't: lively, outgoing, and always eager to make friends. To outsiders, the Bennett family seemed ideal, a tight-knit unit bound by love and routine. But beneath this seemingly perfect exterior, there were cracks in the foundation. Charity, who had struggled with addiction in her past, was once again fighting that battle, trying to balance raising 2 children while working multiple jobs. She was often away from home, leaving Paris and Ella to fend for themselves. While Paris was academically gifted, his emotional world remained a mystery to those around him. He was often distant, spending much of his time alone, reading or drawing. Ella, on the other hand, was a ray of sunshine, seeking attention and affection from everyone she met, particularly her older brother. Despite their differences, the siblings were close. Paris was protective of Ella, even when his actions didn't always show it. But as the months passed, the tension grew. Paris, now 13, started feeling the strain of being the perfect child. His bond with his mother began to fray, and a sense of isolation settled in. Ella's carefree nature seemed to highlight the differences between them, and Paris grew more withdrawn, eventually harboring resentment that would later fester into something far darker. The seemingly perfect Bennett family was about to experience a devastating shift that would change their lives forever. Its toll, not just on her health, but on her relationship with Paris. As Charity struggled to maintain control over her life, Paris, feeling neglected and emotionally isolated, began to withdraw further into himself. The once close bond between mother and son started to deteriorate. Paris, who had always been praised for his intelligence, now felt a deep resentment towards his mother. He saw her focus on Ella, her sweet, lively daughter, as a betrayal. Ella's carefree, vibrant nature seemed to highlight Paris's increasing emotional turmoil, and he began to feel like an outsider in his own home. His academic success and intellectual ability no longer felt like enough to earn his mother's affection or attention. Over time, Paris's emotional state worsened. He began expressing frustration at his circumstances, though his mother often attributed it to typical teenage behavior. But the truth was more complicated. Paris's emotional alienation was deepening, and he began to believe that the only way to make his mother truly notice him was through a devastating act. Ella, in Paris's eyes, was the embodiment of everything he felt he could never be: loved, carefree, and untroubled. Paris started harboring dangerous thoughts, convinced that by hurting Ella, he could force Charity to confront the pain he felt, a pain that had been building up for months. It was on this fragile foundation of anger, resentment, and emotional neglect that the tragedy was set in motion. What started as a fractured family dynamic would soon erupt in ways that no one could have predicted. On the night of February 4th, 2007, Charity Bennett, the mother of Paris and Ella, was working a late shift at Buffalo Wild Wings. With her gone, Paris found himself alone with his younger sister, a situation that, on the surface, seemed harmless. But Paris, who had been grappling with his own inner turmoil for months, saw this as an opportunity to act on the growing resentment he had been harboring. Paris had convinced the babysitter to leave early, telling her everything was fine. The two siblings were left alone in the house, unaware that this seemingly normal night would soon turn into something far darker. Paris's behavior was becoming more evident. Ella, unaware of the tension, continued to play, unaware of what was about to unfold. At some point during the evening, Paris's actions took a disturbing turn. The attack wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. Paris had methodically planned what he was about to do. When Ella was distracted, Paris acted. His actions would later reveal a deeper, colder motive, one driven by a need to gain control and to punish the mother he felt had abandoned him emotionally. Afterward, Paris, the same boy who had always been seen as quiet but well-behaved, made a calculated decision. He first called a friend, perhaps to make sure he wasn't alone in his thoughts. Then, at 11:42 p.m., he dialed 911. His words were chilling. "I can't do it. She's already gone." These words, delivered in such a calm tone, raised immediate suspicion. His lack of panic was the first clue that something was wrong, something that went beyond a tragic accident. The authorities arrived at the scene, but the questions were already multiplying. Was this a crime of desperation, or had Paris deliberately chosen this path? What could have led a seemingly well-adjusted teenager to commit such a horrific act? As the investigation would later reveal, Paris's actions were not those of an innocent child caught in a tragic moment. Instead, they pointed to something far more calculated.
The history repeating itself. I have been able to forgive Paris for the worst thing imaginable, but I'm never going to be comfortable with it. In order to have my own sense of
When the
peace,
police
to
arrived at
have
the Bennett
integrity,
home on the night of February
it's
4th,
time.
2007, they were greeted by a scene that seemed to hold more questions than answers. The 911 call Paris had made was already raising suspicions, but there was something about the situation that felt off. Ella was unresponsive, lying on the floor, but there were no signs of any effort to revive her. No indication of CPR or any life-saving measures had been attempted. That absence of urgency left a chilling impression. It wasn't just a case of a child in distress. It felt staged. The first responders were quick to examine the scene, and they immediately noticed Paris's odd demeanor. He wasn't acting as one would expect from someone who had just found their sibling in distress. His calmness, almost indifference, struck the officers as peculiar. Was this simply shock, or was something more troubling at play? Forensic experts soon arrived to investigate further. As the details began to unfold, the investigators discovered that Ella had not died from an accident or an event beyond control. The autopsy revealed suffocation as the cause of death, a deliberate act that pointed directly to Paris. The lack of any signs of struggle or defensive wounds suggested that she had been caught off guard, possibly while in a vulnerable position. The police continued their investigation, and it was revealed that Paris had manipulated the babysitter to leave early, ensuring that he was left alone with Ella. This crucial detail would later be confirmed through witness statements and timing checks. But what did this mean? Paris had carefully orchestrated this situation, leaving no room for interruption, and that raised the most unsettling question of all. Why? Further forensic analysis on the scene showed that no life-saving attempts had been made by Paris. The absence of CPR or any other attempt to save his sister painted a grim picture. It became evident that he had not even tried to help Ella. Instead, he had acted as though everything was normal. The 911 call, which had seemed like an act of distress at first, was now seen as something far more calculated, a move to cover up his actions. As the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, the truth became increasingly clear. Paris had not been a bystander in his sister's death. He was the one who had taken her life. The forensic evidence didn't just support the police's suspicions, it confirmed them. The investigation had now turned its focus fully on Paris, and the chilling realization set in. This wasn't a tragic accident. This was deliberate. The psychological profile of Paris began to emerge through interviews and reports. As investigators dug deeper into his background and behavior, it became clear that this was a young boy who had been emotionally detached from his family. His failure to react with appropriate emotion, his strange calmness during questioning, and his manipulation of the babysitter all suggested a deeply disturbed mind. His transfer was a necessary step, but it also raised new concerns about how the justice system would handle a child who had committed such a grave offense and was now in an adult prison environment. The trial and its aftermath sent shock waves through the Bennett family as they struggled to come to terms with the fact that the person responsible for Ella's death was none other than her older brother. Charity, devastated by the loss of her daughter and the betrayal by her son, had to navigate a difficult path of grief, anger, and confusion. The aftermath of Ella's death left Charity Bennett devastated. In addition to the loss of her daughter, she had to grapple with the shocking reality that her son, Paris, was responsible for the tragedy. For a mother, the double betrayal was unimaginable. The grief was compounded by the emotional turmoil of knowing that the person who had taken her daughter's life was her own child, the one she had raised, protected, and loved. In the face of this crushing pain, Charity made a bold decision. She chose not to let her daughter's death be in vain. Driven by the desire to make something positive come from the unspeakable tragedy, Charity founded the Ella Foundation.
So I set up the Ella Foundation.
The foundation's
to prevent
mission
violence
was clear:
by sharing
to offer
our
support
story.
for families affected by violence, educate communities about mental health, and provide resources to help people get the help they needed. But while Charity's work became a beacon of hope for others, it did little to ease the personal pain she was feeling. The weight of the loss was unbearable at times, but Charity continued to push forward, determined to prevent others from experiencing the same heartache. Charity's relationship with Paris was deeply affected by his actions. After the trial and his sentencing, Charity made the painful choice to cease contact with him. She prioritized her own emotional well-being and the safety of her youngest son, Phoenix, who was also impacted by the events. Paris's actions had shattered the family, and Charity had to protect herself and her remaining child from further harm. Despite the emotional toll, Charity has remained committed to her advocacy work. She has spoken at events, reaching out to others who have been through similar experiences, and continues to raise awareness about the importance of mental health. Charity's journey has been one of incredible resilience, but it remains a constant struggle to move forward, knowing that her life and her family will never be the same again.
The case of Ella Bennett serves as a stark reminder of the complexities of family dynamics and the deep emotional struggles that can lie beneath the surface. Paris, once seen as the perfect child, was a victim of his own psychological turmoil. The emotional neglect he felt, combined with his growing resentment, led to a tragic outcome that forever altered the Bennett family. This case highlights the profound impact of mental health issues and how they can manifest in destructive ways if left unaddressed. Ella's death is a sobering reminder of the importance of recognizing signs of distress in loved ones, especially in children. Paris's actions, though tragic, raise the question of how society handles emotional and psychological struggles, particularly in young people. Could this tragedy have been prevented if the family had been more attuned to the signs of Paris's distress? It's a question that lingers long after the trial and sentencing. Charity's journey, though filled with immense grief, is one of strength and resilience. The loss of her daughter and the betrayal of her son would be too much for most, yet Charity has continued to move forward, using her pain to fuel her advocacy for mental health awareness. Through the Ella Foundation, she hopes to raise awareness, help others, and prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. The story of the Bennett family is a tragic reminder of the importance of early intervention, understanding emotional struggles, and the far-reaching consequences when these issues are ignored. As we reflect on this case, we are reminded that the smallest acts of kindness, the most subtle signs of support, can make a difference in someone's life before it's too late. If you found this case compelling, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts on what you believe could have prevented this tragedy. Join our community of true crime enthusiasts and stay tuned for more real-life stories that's next.